All right, Nick, it's time to talk about the Cincinnati Bengals. This is a team getting hot at exactly the right time, Nick. They are in the thick of the playoff race. They are, quite frankly, in the thick of the battle for the division title of the AFC North, hot on the heels of the Baltimore Ravens. It's a tight battle in that division, Nick. But the Bengals have been led by none other than Joe Burrow this season, Nick. He has been incredible. A man who I have quietly been even more impressed by him. You know, coming off of getting them to the Super Bowl last season, you think, how can a guy do so spectacular last season and impress you even more? But he has, Nick. He's done it this season. He's been able to flush the ball around to more than just Jamar Chase. It's really been a sight to see. And we have a lot of stats and advanced analytics to kind of just explain exactly how good Joe Burrow has been this season. We're going to get into that story in just a moment. But Bengals fans, speaking of quarterbacks, speaking of Joe Burrow, there has been a lot of great quarterbacks throughout Bengals history. Whether you think of Dalton, Palmer, Kitna, Sison, there's tons and tons of great guys. We've got to know in the comments below, who is your favorite Bengals quarterback of all time? Let us know in the comments below. But Nick, let's get into these stats about Joe Burrow.
Yeah, so obviously Burrow's had a good year, but when it comes to people talking about the best quarterbacks in the NFL, most of the prevailing wisdom that you hear in the media is that, it's Mahomes versus Jalen Hurts for the MVP contention, right? Those are the top two guys. Hurts for the Eagles in the NFC and Mahomes, of course, for the Chiefs in the AFC. But you take a deep look at the advanced analytics, it's actually a different two-man race between Mahomes and Joe Burrow. And I give credit to Benjamin Brown over at Pro Football Focus at PFF for doing the analytics looking at wins above replacement or WAR. Now, for people who aren't familiar with WAR, what that basically does, there's a lot of math and research and data, and it takes how good a player performs over what an average replacement player would be at his position. So it just says, hey, how good is a team in aggregate, adding up all the players over what a team full of average players would be, and how good, if you're looking at an individual player level, how good that player is over what an average player would be. So he broke this down, and he found that the Bengals, as a team, their WAR is 6.58 wins above replacement. So just taking that data point in mind. But if you remove the quarterback, their wins above replacement, their WAR drops to 3. That means Joe Burrow adds 3.58 wins above replacement. That is the second highest in the NFL, literally statistically tied with none other than Pat Mahomes, the Kansas City Chiefs. Most other teams are around 1 or 2. If it's a bad quarterback, sometimes it'll be negative. That's how good Burrow has been this season. His value in terms of his performance on the field. And this isn't just looking at like high-level stats like points per game or something like that. This is PFF. They focus on a play-by-play analysis versus the players on the field and the competition on the other side that he's playing against. That is how good Burrow has been. He's carried a team, that probably could potentially only have 6 or 7 wins, giving them 3 extra wins instead of fighting for maybe an edge wildcard spot. They're in the thick of division hunt, to your point, because of Joe Burrow. Miles, give me your thoughts. Obviously, this is a lot of math and a lot of stats. I know you're a criminal justice major, so it may be a little hard for you to wrap your mind around. What do you think about all this and everything going on with Burrow?
Well, Nick, I will dumb it down for me and the rest of the Bengals fans who might not understand this. When you talk about wins above replacement, the replacement is something they used to call the Dalton line, the Andy Dalton line.
Yep.
So Bengals tie in there. So how much better is Joe Burrow than Andy Dalton was? And you can already know, if you're a Bengals fan, he's a heck of a lot better. So you'd only have 3 wins, extra wins, I guess, with Andy Dalton, with the characters around him. You add in Joe Burrow, you get up to like 6 point whatever you said it was, something along those lines.
6.58.
Yep.
So he gives you 3.5.
Wow.
3.5 wins.
You round up, that's 3.6. So when round that up, that's basically 4. So, but Joe Burrow has been incredible this season. Having 3 extra wins, when you look at the stats, just by proxy of having him on your team, you cannot underestimate that, Nick. That has got to be so important to this team. It's really Joe Burrow's team. Bengals fans got to be excited about him. And quite frankly, Nick, when you do see him play, like, you have to put in all of the, like, Jalen Hurts has an incredible team around him. He does not, I'm not saying Jalen Hurts is not good, because he has been very good this season, but he's not as valuable to the Eagles team as Joe Burrow is. You look at the 49ers, okay? You got Jimmy G back there, and then you have Mr. Irrelevant, who's now being very relevant, Brock Purdy, step in to the same 49er system and do just as well. It doesn't matter how much or who's in that system. Just like the Eagles, It's a system where I feel like anyone can thrive because they have so many weapons, so many great pieces, great defense. The Bengals need Joe Burrow, and he is crucial to that team, and that's why I feel like he's a great MVP candidate.
Oh, yeah. And to your point, to give you some context here, you talk about the difference that Jalen Hurts provides Philadelphia in terms of how good that team is and the MVP argument for Jalen Hurts. So Jalen Hurts' war added to Philadelphia is roughly the same as what Kenny Pickett adds to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay. And again, not hating on Jalen Hurts. He may end up winning the MVP when it's all said and done. He's had a great year. The Eagles are a Super Bowl contender. There's no doubt about it. But we have to realize and really respect how good Joe Burrow is. When you look at what he does in terms of winning football plays, we're talking about the clutch factor, the game-winning drives, taking care of the football when it matters most. This is a guy who continually gets it done. And just like Mahomes has given the Chiefs, every year they're winning division titles, they're going to playoff games, making deep playoff runs. Joe Burrow's play gives the Bengals that exact same ability and capability going forward. And I expect the same from Burrow because obviously, things like touchdown passes, passing yards, those can kind of fluctuate based on, game situations and how good your defense is and defenses you play and things like that, offensive strategy, how much you run the ball, all that kind of stuff. But this kind of winning football plays, which is what PFF is focusing on here, is what lasts. It's what's consistent. It'll win you games over the course of the season. It'll help you in the playoff runs. It'll help you over many years and years and years to come. And if I'm a Bengals fan, data points like this makes me really excited, both for the rest of 2022 and hopefully the postseason, but also the rest of the decade because Burrow looks like he's special.